Are you kidding me?
We're back.
Let me grab my microphone and get all settled in here.
Did you forget
Ash.
how to do this? It's been a while since
I
we've
know.
done it.
Dude, 2 whole weeks.
As he looks directly into the camera.
It is March 1st, everybody. Thank you for being here for episode 45.
Are those guys wearing the same clothes as last week? Yes.
We do not change much.
Yes,
Cheers.
we are. Cheers.
Let's cheers for the first time this week.
I gotta tell you, Jess, watch looks good on your wrist.
Thank you. You think so?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Adds a level of sophistication.
I feel it. You ever got to do that?
Oh,
The shuffle?
constantly.
I look like a deranged lunatic.
Someone in the office today asked me what time it was, and I was like, I've waited this moment my whole career.
If you ever ask Dan what time it is, when we were living together, he got the Apple Watch. For some reason, I don't think he even knew he did it, but when you would say, he would look at what time it was, he would go. And he would do like the Spider-Man thing with his hand. And I'm like, Dan, what are you doing? Like, it was like a thing with him. I don't know if he still does it, but I'm going to try to figure it out. But dude, I like to watch. I really do. I like that my ring matches it too, you know?
Yeah,
You
you've got a lot of good stuff going on in that hand.
Thank you. Left hand is popping today.
4 years of marriage over there.
Yeah, 4 years.
Okay, so when we were discussing directions on how to do this episode, one of the ideas I had was to take a hypothetical situation that actually is based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
And that story was American lady, name was Jennifer Flavellan, I think. So in August of 2017, she drops her 3 kids off at school and is on her way to work. During her drive, becomes lightheaded, and in the course of this, loses control of her vehicle, crashes into a utility pole. The crash causes her to go into a coma, where she remained until August of 2022.
Jeez.
And let me just
say
repeat.
those dates again, man.
She went into the coma in August of 2017. Woke up August 2022. So she was completely incapacitated for 5 years. Asleep for 5 years. The stat that I read in the article, around 2 to 3% of people that are in comas this long come out of it. And they don't really have a good idea of what causes them to come out of it.
They just get out of it.
They basically kept this lady on life support for 5 years and had faith that she was going to get through it eventually, and she pulls through 5 years later.
Now that's up to the husband or closest of kin, right?
If she doesn't already have a will,
Yeah.
where she states that she wants to have the cord pulled, then it is up to, I think husband automatically gets power of attorney.
Yeah.
And then maybe parents do after that.
And he was just like, nope, not yet. Nope, not yet. And
Apparently her mother, with very few exceptions, visited her every day for 5 years in the hospital.
yeah. And the hospital has no say over it.
No, they can't say,
Yeah.
next month we're going to have to pull the plug,
Right.
kind of thing.
So, yeah.
Her mother had full faith that she was going to pull through it. And she even mentioned in the article there being a time that the nurse that was carrying, nurse was in a room with her daughter while she was still in the coma, like changing bed linens and checking on vitals and things like that, and made a comment of like, the longer they're like this, the less likely it is that they're going to come out. And her mother just being completely enraged by that, saying, no, she will come out of it. Really a moving and sad story. Obviously, is happy that she came out of it, but her mother having conversations with her unresponsive daughter for 5 years. I mean, this is just something only a mother could do.
Can't imagine.
It's a crazy story, but it's honestly a miracle. And how cool is it that we have the technology to allow someone to stay like that for 5 years and eventually come out of it? So her son is on the high school football team as a senior. She's been able, or she was able, this happened in 22, when she woke up, she was able to see her son play football as a high school senior. And the last time she saw him was when he was in the 7th grade.
That's literally like the blip in the Marvel movie, between Infinity War and Endgame. It was like a joke, like, 5 years and you just came back. That's literally she has to catch up on the last 5 years of her life.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Reading the story gave me the idea of this might be an interesting podcast topic. So I posed to Jess.
And Trey at the time.
And Trey. Trey was at the table with us. We were at Hop Dottie.
Hop Dottie. Try the Long Island iced teas. Tell him
Jesse sent you. So I posed the hypothetical to them. We have someone that we know that's waking up from a coma after 5 years. What's 10 news stories you would share with them, or what's 10 world events that you would share with them to get them caught up on what's gone on? Jesse and I both decided we would get the elephant out of the room. Obviously, the last 5 years, COVID is going to overshadow everything. So we eliminated that as a talking point because we could purposefully ignore it, but it's
everybody knows
without
what
doubt
happened.
the biggest news story of the last 5 years.
It's fine.
So we tabled that one, and then in an effort to not completely traverse realms that we have no business traversing
and no interest
in listening to ourselves or anyone else talk about it, we also ruled out politics and war.
And can I plant a flag?
Go ahead.
What's so funny is Thursday morning, I believe, when you texted me this, I was in the middle of researching January 12th storming of the Capitol because I was like, that has to be talked about. And second on my list was Ukraine being invaded by Russia. And you read my mind at 8:45 in the morning saying, let's just table politics and war. So scratch those two right off the list, because I was reading an in-depth article on January 12th, and I do not want to talk about it.
Yeah.
No interest.
Yeah, and that in Ukraine would have had to have been on my list as well. So I was just thinking, let's not go there.
And I'm happy you did.
I don't want to hear about impeachments and, blowing up the city and whatever else. So,
because no one wants to hear that, especially the 73 subscribers that listen to us on a weekly basis.
Yeah. We're here for good times only. Or something like that.
Oh, God.
So what Jesse and I are going to do in this episode is hopefully choose 10 stories that the other will not have chosen, and we'll have an interesting assortment of news items to catch up our recently coma awakened person.
Yeah.
So have you thought about how we should do this?
So before we start,
Sure.
I will. Here is my opening statement.
Okay.
I am not a news person. I do not like politics. I don't like keeping up with worldly news. It just makes me sad. And this thought experiment, it's an experiment. It's kind of like the what did they call? What did we call it back in high school? Current events. Remember that we used to do every week in history class? I did not like it. This was an interesting exercise because it reinforced how I felt about researching world news, current events, what have you. I found it is hard to find positive news stories. You know, when you just search, top stories over the past 2 years, it's all negative. Everything's negative. So I took a somewhat different approach. I hope you'll appreciate into my stories. I could not find 10 that I wanted to talk about. I will say that. I have 5. I hope that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
I didn't like it. Obviously you're learning about stuff, but it's sad.
Interesting that you said that you took a different approach to it. I did too. The approach that I took to it is I've just got this general sense, and you can table the pandemic not included in this, even though you ultimately would have to. I just feel like in the last 5 years the world has changed. Like fundamentally changed.
Yeah.
So I chose stories that reflect that, but have nothing to do with politics or war or sickness.
Okay. So I like that we took angles on this,
Mm-hmm.
not just we picked 10 that are important. So
I try to have a theme with mine.
So the way I thought of it as it's a friend that's coming out of a coma.
Exactly. Yeah.
Something that interests me, but would also interest the other party.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm relieved. You have 10 though?
Yeah.
Good for you. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to back and forth it, or do you want to go one at a time? Now, do you have, I'll say that, I know we talked about this a little bit. I have like 2 or 3 that I researched, and then I have like 1 or 2 that are like, here's what happened. You want to talk about it or not? So are all of yours like that? Like,
there are definitely some lighter ones, and then others that I researched a little bit more.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Maybe this will be a good starting point. Do you have any notable deaths included on your
I think
on your list? Okay.
At least one
and
of
I
them.
figured that you were going to go with this death.
I did have 2, but one of them was out of the 5 years. But you know what? I only have 5. One of them was, let's just get into it. Robin Williams was one of them for me. He was a big influence in my life.
Okay.
He was one of the people that, I don't know if I was talking to you about it recently or maybe Dan, but someone said when the whole world mourns your death, that means you've made an impact. And I think Robin Williams was one of those deaths that stopped people in their tracks. So I did have him on there, although it was outside of the 5 years. But he was on there. So yeah, Robin Williams was a big one for me.
Do you know what year he died?
I didn't look at it, but I know it was more than 5 years. A quick Google search may...
Doesn't seem like it's been much longer than 5 years. Though.
I'd say within 10. Definitely within that. And then just the way it happened. And
he died in 2014, so he died 10 years ago.
Wow. Man, so much longer than I thought. But I remember that one kind of stopped you and was like, whoa.
He was 63.
Yeah. So that was one of them. But I'm sure you could have guessed the other one.
I figured that you would choose Kobe. I would say this one probably isn't as impactful as, I don't know if the whole world was mourning this death. I think it has significance for me. It might have for you too. But October 6, 2020, Eddie Van Halen died.
I was literally going to say Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah. And I feel like that was one of the few guitar heroes still alive and like still doing things. You know, Jimmy Page is still alive, but he doesn't really do much anymore. Eddie Van Halen was still out there doing shows, doing gear releases and guitar. He had his own
Mhm.
guitar line, and still inspiring.
That was
Young,
a sudden. It was like a heart attack or something.
he had a
Wasn't
stroke.
it? Stroke.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the one that kind of shocked the world. You know, that was like when Prince died. That kind of feeling. You know.
Yeah, he was a legend for sure. One of the things I think is so cool about Eddie Van Halen is that the sacrifice he had to make to get as good as he did. He essentially had to give up his teenage years and lock himself in his room every day after school to get that good at the guitar. And, you know, there's definitely a natural talent, natural ability element to his playing, but the guy really had to grind to get as good as he is.
And he's another one of those guys, like we talked about in the previous episode, where you heard the guitar playing, you knew it was Eddie Van Halen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, without question. You know, you can say Brian May on the guitar, you could say Travis Barker on the drums. In some instances, Jimmy Page on guitar, but you knew it was Eddie Van Halen.
Yep. And really a pioneer, you know, creating new techniques that no one had really ever done
He
before.
made the guitar talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like people say that about Hendrix also. But, I mean, he made the guitar, he made sounds that you could not make, you know. It was insane. And made it look effortless. I mean, literally would dance around stage and just hit notes that you would never know existed.
I think one of the best examples of it is he did the solo for Michael Jackson's Beat It.
Mm-hmm.
And when you listen to that solo, we talked about this with Trey last week, you do not know what's happening. You don't even know where to begin.
Yeah.
You know, is the man playing a note at the beginning of that, or what is happening to that guitar?
It's like a dive bomb in the middle of World War II is what it sounds like. Yeah.
It sounds like a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
nose
diving towards the ground.
So that was within 5 years?
Yeah, he died in 2020.
Wow. Okay.
October 6, 2020 at the age of 65.
Okay.
Another thing that I put on here that it's not a death, but we were seeing a legend, one of the best of the best. 2021, February. I'm going to sneeze.
I thought you were getting emotional.
Excuse me. Talking about Tom.
Oh, no.
February 2021, Tom Brady takes the Buccaneers in his first season with the Bucs to the Super Bowl, beats Mahomes and the Chiefs 31-9, and I think solidifies the fact that he really is the greatest quarterback of all time.
It should have been already solidified before then, but that put a stamp on it.
There was always the thing of, but he's got Belichick. But he went to a new team, not only won at a new team, but won in the first year. Come on.
And the Buccaneers.
Correct.
He didn't go to the Cowboys. He didn't go to the Chiefs. He went to the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Who have never won a Super Bowl. And
he had Mike Evans, but it's like,
yeah.
You know.
And yeah. I mean, and there's 3 teams in Florida, and they all suck. I mean, he took them to the Super Bowl. And I don't. You probably don't remember this. I don't know. At Thanksgiving, they had a losing record of that season. They were not good, and flipped a switch, you know, and beat the current dynasty, and then beat them in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
And not just beat them. I mean, 31-9 is a beat down.
Mm-hmm. With the NFL. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, mind you. Remember that. And also, the first home Super Bowl played.
Excellent observation, and I was going to point that out. Mm-hmm. That's very cool that you know that. I didn't know that until I did the research for this, but that was cool. I knew that Tom had to get put in this at some point. I mean, really and truly, we're probably not going to see someone as great as that. People say Mahomes is going to be like that, but...
And that's why I wanted him to lose this year. He is now on track to beat Tom Brady at Tom Brady at Pat Mahomes' age back in the day, Pat Mahomes is ahead. That's why I didn't want him to win. But of course, different circumstances, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where you say like we're never going to see it again, and then we may see it. I don't know, but he's still sitting 7 Super Bowls. Is a number it's tough to reach. You know, obviously Pat Mahomes has 3 already, but he's been in the league 8 years.
Yeah.
So he's almost he's probably at this point halfway done with his career.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But
and look, man, Mahomes is much more physical of a player with the way that he scrambles than Brady is. So, you know, and I don't want anything bad to happen to the guy, so I'm not saying this wishing it on him. Mahomes could get injured and it seriously affect his playing from here on, you know?
Yeah. And also you could use that as a point where Tom Brady did it in an era where quarterbacks did not scramble. Mm-hmm. They relied on their receivers and their tight ends to make plays, and running backs, obviously. And he did it in different decades. I think he won a Super Bowl in 2 different decades with completely different teams, you know? Yeah. And he also he was the last team to win 2 in a row before the Chiefs just did it.
Right.
2002 and 2003, I think, was the last time it happened, and that was him. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense that it's on there. That's a historical, people that care about sports, that was history. Immediately put the argument to bed that Bill Belichick was the reason. And you saw what Bill Belichick, he hasn't had a winning season since Tom Brady left.
Yes. Yeah, which I think is even more of a boon to Tom's.
Not saying, obviously, that Bill is a bad coach. He hasn't had a good quarterback, but yeah. I mean, that immediately put that was the argument when he left. And Bill forced him out. I don't know if you know, he said the quote to Robert Kraft, Tom Brady's done. He's hit his peak. That's it. And he immediately put it to bed. Yeah.
It was like Steve Ballmer in 2007 saying the iPhone would never sell because it didn't have a keyboard. Yeah. It's finished. It'll never sell.
So, yeah. It's cool you had that on there. Because I have 1 or 2 sports things on there, too.
So throw one at me.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and throw this one out because it's kind of a short. But LeBron James breaking the NBA scoring record.
Okay, didn't know he did that.
It happened about, I think it was last year or the year before. The scoring record was held by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He was at the Lakers when he broke it and retired. Their record was held for 39 years, and that was a record that people said was never going to get broken. And he broke it, and obviously is still playing. So that was very, very historical. Hated that it happened. They, of course, they had to call a timeout when it happened and honored him in the middle of a game. They shut the game down and had a whole thing. Of course, only him, because he doesn't like attention,
Yeah.
But he did it. You got to respect it. I mean, he did it in, I think, 19 seasons, and Kareem did it in 21 seasons. So I think it was 38,700 points-ish, and LeBron's up to like 39.7 or something right now, so he's still playing. But, I mean, that was historical. That was something, again, everybody's like, no one's breaking that record. And he was like thousands of points above the number 2 person, Yeah. I think it was Karl Malone, maybe? Was number 2, and then I think Jordan was 3. I don't remember, but that was pretty historical.
One of the mid-game pauses I thought was actually cool and moving when Drew Brees set the passing record. I think it was the year that he retired, or the season before he retired. He was playing at home in New Orleans, and he threw the touchdown. It was either passing yards or touchdowns thrown. One of the two. They stopped the entire game, and he walked out onto the middle of the field, and the place was just going nuts. And his wife and daughter walked out onto the field with him, and it was a cool moment. I mean, it felt like someone at the tail end of his career and, kind of getting the love that – yeah. Because Breeze was – one of those just killer quarterbacks, awesome arm, but he didn't have that ability like Brady to really take a team on his shoulders and bring them to the Super Bowl.
Mhm.
You know, he needed
Yeah.
the help of his. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and he had one Super Bowl,
I
right?
believe so.
People forget about him because of that, but he has a ton of scoring records. I mean, quarterback records.
He passed Manning.
Peyton
I
Manning,
think
exactly.
Brady ultimately eclipsed Breeze's record, but I mean, him and Manning and Breeze were
Yeah.
like just barely within each other's
And
range.
in an era where they were all playing at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it was incredible. And obviously now Tom Brady, I think, has like pretty much every single quarterback record that exists because he played for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And he, obviously he was great. But people forget about Breeze because it was like when Peyton Manning and Tom Brady played at this, like when they were playing against each other, all eyes were on those games. Like it was Peyton Manning and Brady. But people forget about Drew Brees. He had a ton of those records. I think it's because he was in a what do they call it? Like a low market. It wasn't like the Patriots or obviously Peyton Manning brought the Colts to where they were, but it wasn't like the Cowboys or anything. It was the Saints. They were like, Saints.
Yeah.
But people forget about him. He was like a great quarterback.
He really was.
Like people forget about Romo too, and they give him shit about it because he was in the Cowboys and he never won anything. But he has a lot of those records too. Like he was a great quarterback also, just never won a championship.
Yeah.
Tom Brady was like, obviously he eclipsed that whole decade. It's kind of like how so I actually watching the old All-Star games. I heard a lot of commentators say because of Michael Jordan, his whole dominance, a lot of those amazing great players didn't get the shine that they deserved. Like Reggie Miller, he won a championship obviously, but he just got passed for the 3-point, I think 2 years ago, the 3-point record because of Steph. Reggie Miller was an incredible player. I mean, Charles Barkley was an incredible player. All these guys that came up in the era of Michael Jordan got shit on because of Michael Jordan. He was the guy, So it was kind of because of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning that of course Eli, he wasn't that good, but Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, an amazing quarterback, they kind of were in the shadow, because of all those championships.
Yeah. Asa made a comment about a couple weeks ago, Scottie Pippen was an elite player, but was always in the shadow because of Jordan.
Dude, you probably didn't hear about this. Right now, they're Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, which was the center for the Chicago Bulls and the tail end, and one other player. It's so dumb. They're on like a tour right now, shitting on the Last Dance documentary, saying it's not a real documentary. But they were in the documentary. And they're saying all of it wasn't real and all that stuff. It's Scottie Pippen has come out and basically as MJ's an asshole. Here's the truth, all this crap. It's so dumb. It's so dumb, but that is true. I mean, Scottie Pippen, I think he was a number 1 overall pick, if not. I think he was picked the year before Jordan came. He was the guy.
Yeah.
But kind of in the shadow. And Michael Jordan has always said he would not have those championships without Scottie Pippen. Like, he has blatantly said, it's not just me. But Scottie Pippen is just like he's pissed. He doesn't like it because he probably wants his due,
Right.
So either way, the guy has 6 rings because of Jordan. So it's a whole thing, man. I don't know if you've ever seen The Last Dance, but it's worth watching.
Okay.
It's an amazing, amazing documentary just about basketball history. And there's a whole episode on Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was that influential. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. My boss said something to me about watching that. He asked me if I had seen it. And I said, no, I haven't seen it. He said, I'm surprised with the way you wear Jordans. I'm like, yeah, but I don't wear them because they're Michael Jordan shoes.
Right.
Like there's no
right.
There's no connection there.
I'd like to watch it with you. If you're going to watch it, I think I can put in a lot of context that would make you more into it than you would just watching it on your own.
Okay.
But I think it's a good watch. It's not even just about the whole dynasty. It's about like the 90s era in general. That's kind of cool. I think you would like watching it.
Okay.
Maybe a cabin trip.
Might do that. Yeah.
Knock that out for a day. There's only 10 episodes.
Oh.
We can knock it out.
All right. I'm not opposed to it.
That'd be kind of cool.
So there was an event in this 5-year period that I will tell you probably didn't have much of an effect on you, but it shocked me. And that was Japan's prime minister being assassinated.
I don't even think I knew that.
Okay.
So, okay. Now that's got to hit you big.
You know, in Fall Out Boy's updated version of "We Didn't Start the Fire," there's that line, "Shinzo Abe blown away."
I don't remember that line. Okay, so that's it.
Yeah, so Shinzo Abe was at the time that he was murdered, former prime minister of Japan. Japan's kind of got this reputation, and I'm sure I've talked to you about this, of being one of the safest countries on earth. And with population compared to crime rates, they are.
Yeah.
It's been claimed that they're one of the few places where you could leave something on a park bench and come back and it'd still be there. It's just record low crime.
And I know you want to take a sip. For those of you who don't know, Ashton is the Japan guy. We were even planning a trip potentially that was going to happen this year. You've been into the culture, I would say, for as long as I've known you. So that's got to hit you big. Yeah, I understand that completely.
It shocked me.
Abe
was delivering a campaign speech on behalf of someone that's also in his party. And he was standing in the streets, I think it was in front of a hospital. There was a guy that, the guy that murdered him, built this gun at home. It was a homemade weapon. So this guy was not an idiot. And it was very similar to a sawed-off shotgun, but they said that when it fired, it sounded like a tire blowing out. And so the prime minister is street level. He's got people all around him. He's got some security detail, but it's like a handful of guys, and they're just kind of standing in his general vicinity and far enough off where you could rush the prime minister and like probably make contact with him before someone could get to you. So as he's giving the speech, this guy walks up behind him and has like a brown paper bag that the weapon's in, and as he's talking, fires the first shot, and it like expels 6 fragments out of the gun. So the first one like misses the prime minister completely. The sound causes him to turn around. Then the guy fires again and hits him in the neck and in the chest, and he falls over. By that point, his security detail had tackled the guy, but it was too late. The reason the guy said that he did it was Abe would be similar to a Kennedy-type situation in America where he comes from a family of politicians. It goes back several generations. That is just the water this guy always swam in. So this would be equivalent to a Kennedy, maybe, I don't know, Clinton or a Bush type figure. You've got family history of being in politics. So you're kind of a household. Your last name's kind of a household.
No, is that strictly why? Because I know with the Kennedy thing, a lot of people say it's because he wanted to get rid of, what is it, the FBI he wanted to abolish, and then supposedly an inside job. Was it along the same lines, or was it just family politician?
I was saying that to give you context of this guy standing just in Japanese politics.
Okay.
Of where he would fit at. You know, this is not a like unknown guy that came out of nowhere and stormed politics. He was well established based on his family. So the reason that the assassin said that he did what he did, there is a Christian church in Japan called the Unification Church. It's been around for decades. Stems from Korea. I'm not going to go too deep into details, but Korea is still very upset with the Japanese at the way that the Japanese treated the Koreans during the Second World War. particularly with kidnapping Korean women and basically selling them into slavery.
Damn.
While the Japanese were in China.
So remind me, were the Japanese part of the Allies?
They were not.
They were not. Okay.
Japan did not behave in the Second World War. They did some pretty heinous things, particularly to the Chinese and the Koreans.
So did they jump? Okay.
Because remember, they bombed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Right, which
In
kickstarted
41.
United States getting involved. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Man. So this church stems back to Korea and made its way on to Japan, kind of using grievances from the Second World War as its way into the country, like prey upon the Japanese that feel guilt over what had happened.
Right.
And it's almost a cult-like institution where it's very similar to Scientology, where they require their members to give them large sums of money in order to stay
This Unification
active.
Church?
Yes.
Okay.
The Unification Church has also intertwined itself in Japanese politics. And it would be a similar thing in America where there's lobbyist groups. They give politicians loads of money so that the politicians won't pass legislation that will hurt their
Right.
business.
That's why you throw Christian into quotations.
Yes, it's not
okay.
really a Christian. They're not really interested in conversion. This is more of a pseudo-political power
Right.
cult thing all wrapped together. This man's mother inherited a family fortune from her parents, who were business owners. His mother was a member of the Unification Church, basically bankrupted the family, giving all of her money away that she inherited to this church. So this guy was very disgruntled about this. Abe had connections, political connections with the Unification Church. So the guy said that because he couldn't get close enough to the head of the church to assassinate that person, that he was going to assassinate the prime minister as like the next target. So he did.
Jeez.
But
Was this the thing where he knew he was going to get caught and he was just sacrificing
100%.
himself? Okay.
he completely
It's kind of like a
surrendered himself.
like a John Lennon thing where the guy killed him and then was like, "This is my duty in life."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he got his revenge type thing.
Man, I couldn't imagine that kind of mindset.
Now, the guy clearly had mental issues. He was unemployed at 41. You know, like, things are not well if you're unemployed at 41. The national trauma, though, of having, the equivalent of your president killed. Watching the thing about Kennedy, there were people in their 90s in that documentary that were tearing up thinking about Kennedy being killed. It's almost 60 years later. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But that event shook me, and I feel like it was without going into detail, it was a shift in attitudes of the whole Pacific region. So in the consequences are still being realized of it. So anyway,
so that was a big one.
I wanted to include that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I know I only have like a few, so do you want to maybe rattle off a couple more?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, so again, my theme with these, well, before we do that, this will be a good one to kind of jump to. Won't take a ton of time to talk about. September 8th, 2022, so about a year and a half ago, Queen of England dies.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Queen
Holy
Elizabeth
crap, that was
II.
huge.
Longest reigning monarch of England. She took the throne in 1954, 53, I think, which was 8 years after the Second World War ended. And I was thinking about the history that woman saw.
Yeah.
But even up to 2020, I remember watching her address to the country when they had to go into lockdown, basically telling everyone, like, we've been through bad things before. Just, muddle through this. We'll get on the other side of it.
Man, I can't believe I forgot about that. That was huge.
Yep.
Man. Yeah. Okay. I do remember that.
96 years old.
Yeah.
Queen Elizabeth II.
Wow. Okay, that was big. That was a big story. I can't believe I skipped over that.
I don't think I have any more deaths after that. So, what I was starting to say was, I've just had this general feeling in the last 5 years or so that things have changed in the world in a fundamental way. And something last year that just blew my mind, that it was almost like it just got skipped over. And I guess because there was so much going on in politics and the world with Ukraine and Russia and whatever else is going on. We had 3 former military officials in Congress telling Congress that aliens are real. And these are not crackpots. And the media just... You would think that there would be kind of like Independence Day where folks are storming the streets and riots and, just general unrest everywhere. Like, what does this mean? It just blew my mind. It's like people... I think that there's just so much bizarre stuff that goes on that it's kind of like, yeah, okay. We kind of,
Like,
we kind of always suspected it. So
yeah. Yeah.
So July 26th, 2023, to give you an exact date, 3 former military officials tell Congress that the U.S. government is in possession of UAPs, which are UFOs, but UAP stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomena.
Because they don't want to use UFO.
Well, there's a stink on the word UFO and on the word alien and extraterrestrial. So these guys didn't use the word alien technology. They used non-human biological.
Right, because that makes sense.
One of the guys, though, that was kind of the head of these 3 men that were talking about this, is so Congress, he makes these allegations about, or makes these claims of UAPs existing. He's interviewed people. He's seen technology. The Pentagon's got all this technology that they don't understand. And Congress basically says, why should we believe you? There's got to be a budget for this stuff. Where's the money coming from? We passed the budget. And he delivers this line that honestly left everyone like, we didn't think about that. So they say, we passed the budget for the Pentagon. Where's this money coming from? He says, well, it's above congressional oversight. And basically what that means is, the Pentagon tells you this is what they need the money for, but they do things with the money that you just don't know about.
Yeah.
And, the general reaction is, ooh.
Shit.
Ooh, yeah. But anyway, this guy said that he had colleagues that he worked with daily basis that were injured, like trying to research and track down these UAPs. And look, ultimately, did he give any kind of solid evidence where it would remove all doubt? No, because like everyone that talks about this, they say, well, if I give you this, it's classified information and I'll go straight to prison. So I'm going to tell you as much as I can.
Trust me.
There's always like the leap of faith that you have to take with it. What shocked me the most about it, though, is that, we don't have crackpots with big hair saying, aliens are real, man. these are guys with careers still ongoing that are wanting to bring the lack of accountability in government to the public's attention, where it's basically like all this stuff's going on that you just don't know about.
Yeah.
Whether it's good that the public knows that or not, I could see that being argued. So one of the things of the last 5 years is that, hey, aliens are more than likely, there's some kind of alien existence out there that we're not the only ones around. All right. That's a big development.
That is huge.
David Grush is that guy's name.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll keep on the space theme for my next one. Sure, you in middle, high school, college, whatever, the extent of your education was heard about black holes at some point. Well, prior to 2019, we had never seen a picture of a black hole. So we didn't actually know what black holes look like. I guess just based on the way that the laws of physics work, scientists were able to back into the fact that black holes had to exist. But on April 10th of 2019, the first picture of a black hole was taken. And I will make sure that you see this because it is insane. It looks like a fiery donut with a just void of darkness in the middle of it. It was taken by a telescope. I didn't write it down. I don't remember what it was called, but this telescope takes a picture of this black hole. And, you know, there are things that when you talk about space that they say, well, this star system is the size of 400 billion Earths or whatever. So they said that, you know, this black hole pictured was the weight of 6.5 billion suns. It's like, all right, how do we know this?
Sure.
I mean, it's so large that you're just like, whatever.
Yeah.
What do I do with that?
Yeah.
You know? But what was funny is that one of the guys on the team that took the picture, I put this quote down because it was so awesome. He said, quote, "It feels like looking at the gates of hell at the end of both space and time." That's a pretty epic quote. You need to see a picture of it. It is crazy.
Okay.
But this team that took the photo, fun little fact, they won $3 million for a prize that the science community gives each year called the Breakthrough Prize. So that photo won that team $3 million.
Wow. So they are to be taken seriously, is what you would think.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, I've been talking for a while. Go.
Well, let me tag team on that one. Again, I researched this and was very intrigued by it, but then it turns out it was actually in 2015 and not in 2018 like I previously thought. But NASA sent a spacecraft to orbit Mercury for the first time and took detailed images. And this was, it orbited Mercury 3 times in 4 years. And what I really liked about this, the end of this story, is it crash landed on Mars, which then created a crater, a new crater into Mars. Which, so I thought that was a funny way to end the article that I read.
Oops.
Yeah, like, oh, it'll blend in. Just another crater. So that interested me. It's the Messenger, I think it was called. It was sent in 2015, took photos over 3 years, which is crazy to think. Like, if that's your job, like, so you send a probe and it takes 3 years to get the results. So you're like, your job is on the line for 3 years. You don't know what the heck's going to happen. That's super intriguing to me. Space has never, like, intrigued me. It's always scared me more than it's intrigued me, but to think about, like, the job that is included in that, it's pretty crazy. You know, like, for 3 years, you don't know if the spacecraft even made it to Mercury yet. You don't know. So that was one of those things that I researched.
So let's stay there just for a
Mhm.
second. You know, if that was your job, though, like you got off on planet exploration, that would be an exciting job.
Yeah.
Of 3 years going in, especially once the satellite reaches orbit.
Mm-hmm.
I would assume we had not done that prior. So
Yeah.
everything coming in is
It's
brand
new.
new information.
Mhm.
That would really be exciting.
It would.
And can we talk about video games? So one of the things I loved about Destiny when it first came out was being able to hop on Venus and the moon and it being immersive enough to kind of fantasize of
Mhm.
what would it be like to be in a spacesuit and jump
Yeah.
on one of these planets.
Yeah.
There's unbelievable beauty in space, those images that these things can capture. So if that was something, I mean, like, it's nice to look at. It doesn't get me going. But if that was something that you were really into, that would be a cool job.
Yeah.
And the government funds your research. So you've got money,
Yeah.
you know, to
Yeah.
sustain yourself. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was my one space story. Let's bring it back home to Earth for a minute. So one of my stories, which I actually, funny enough, I texted you about a month or two ago, unrelated to this, about potentially Amelia Earhart's plane being discovered.
Yeah.
So obviously, you know, Amelia Earhart, first woman to cross the Atlantic, I think it was, crash landed. She disappeared, basically. No one knew what happened off the Pacific coast in 1937 or 39. No, still to this day, no one knows what happened to her, which always fascinates me. I really like history, but mystery from history. You know what I mean? Like the Jamestown settlement fascinates me.
Roanoke?
Roanoke. They're just like, they disappeared.
The lost colony.
Yeah. The lost colony of Roanoke. You don't know what the heck happened.
There's like etchings and trees.
Yeah. Where did they go? Dude, that stuff, and that's, again, no one's going to ever figure that out.
Could it be UAPs?
No one's going to figure that out. So, anyway, back to reality. So there's a company called Deep Sea Vision, which there's a CEO and then a couple board members, but I think it's a group of retired pilots. I think they were retired pilots, something like that. Basically, we're like, we want to figure out this mystery. This is what we're setting our goals towards. They spent millions of dollars trying to figure this out. They did an expedition where they sent sonars down deep into the Pacific Ocean, and obviously it puts out, you know, sonars, and then they go back and look at the research, and they found this photograph of an image that looks like a plane. Basically, there's like skeptics and all this stuff. It almost looks too perfect like a plane, you know. But it's 100 miles off the coast of Howland Island, which is where Amelia Earhart and her partner were heading when they went missing. 100 miles off the coast. So it's in the track of where it would be. It is 16,000 feet below sea level.
Whoa.
Which, to put into perspective, the Titanic was 12,000 feet below.
Whoa.
So this is deep. So they didn't say yet when they are going to send out either a team or do another expedition to actually do more research on to figure out this is it. But that's pretty substantial evidence that this could be something. And obviously there's been 7 or 8, whatever you call it, voyages, whatever, on people who have tried to find this mystery out and couldn't. So it's obviously one of many, but they seem to think this is like a big step in the right direction. So it would be, and even if they do find it, that's not really a solution. I guess they could find maybe the body, you know, the 2 bodies that were in the plane. But again, that's one of those mysteries that more than likely is never going to get solved. But it's interesting to follow the track and see what they're going to find.
Well, if it's 16,000 feet down, I mean, their bodies would be pulverized by the pressure.
More than likely there's nothing there. But to find the plane, they can match the plane if they did find the wreckage, obviously.
Yeah. Would that give you any kind of satisfaction if they said like, "Hey, we found it.
Yeah.
Mystery solved."
It would cause me to do more research into the previous information on her, I guess you could say. It'd be cool. It's another one of those things of like, we potentially found the original Ark, Noah's Ark, and where it landed, or the Ark of the Covenant, all that kind of stuff. It's one of those things where you're like, cool, at least that's something. But again, it's like, you're probably not. It's one of those mysteries. Most of those mysteries, you're never going to find the answer, But it's cool to. It's like Bigfoot. It's like keeping up with something you're never going to find a solution, but it's cool to think about.
Yeah.
It's a mystery. And everybody likes mysteries. How was the pyramids built? How was the Great Sphinx built? All that kind of stuff.
Who killed JFK?
Yeah.
Watching that documentary at the end of it, I was like, we're really not ever going to find out what happened here.
No. The whole magic bullet theory, all that crap. You never know. But it intrigues people. Mystery intrigues people no matter what, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
So that was a cool topic. And I remember, it was funny because I texted you about it. I never sent you an article in my entire life, but I texted you this article and I was like, hey, this is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, I was like,
Jesse?
what?
So you go ahead. You got something?
Do you remember the spy balloon?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Did we ever figure that out? The weather, quote unquote, weather balloon
From
China? Yep.
All right. This is one of those things where things have changed. That balloon came from the Pacific. And when we finally shot it down, it was off the coast of the Carolinas.
We shot it down. Yeah.
So the thing traveled the entirety of the continent.
Before we were like, we should do something about it.
And it was not until it was passing over Texas, which of course the good folks in Texas are going to, what the hell is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Before the... Martha, you got to come look at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
What kind of infernal contraption is that up there?
We're acting like Texas is still in the 1940s. Martha, grab my shotgun and come out here.
What on God's green earth is that?
There you go.
But
what in the hootenanny?
The fact that thing got all the way across the country, and you would hope that our security intelligence knew before Texas told them that, hey, the Chinese are flying a balloon over the country right now.
Yeah. So they figure out what it was?
Well, I mean, it was just a general spy balloon. They could have been getting any kinds of data, like geography of locations of things. I saw in the news a couple of weeks ago that the Chinese have been actively hacking into our utility infrastructure. So power, water. It's like, excellent. All of these are...
So did you hear about the AT&T outage yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. You think that was part of it?
They acknowledged it, but never gave the reason of why it happened. It's either the Chinese or the Russians. Yeah.
Perfect. So they have all my wife's information off of her cell phone. That's good.
I mean, the electricity and water thing is unbelievably concerning.
Mm-hmm. That they can do that just like...
I mean, potentially they could just shut it all down. I mean, you see what happens. We have a thunderstorm roll through and knock trees down.
Dude, even clouds over your house.
Yeah.
And my Wi-Fi goes out for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We continue to build electrical poles above ground. So
the weather balloon.
The weather balloon passes over the entirety of the country. And are we safe? Things have changed.
A spontaneous fire causes the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Did you read about this?
Excellent pick. I almost picked that.
I thought this was so intriguing.
Yeah.
They never quite figured out what was the cause of the fire. Happened in April of 2019. It destroyed the roof and the upper levels, What was very intriguing about this story is that they said this is the timeline for when it's going to reopen. This year, it's reopening, December of 2024. So, a historical landmark that just the attic spontaneously combusted into flames. Haven't figured it out. And yeah, the scheduled reopening is on track and it's going to reopen this year. Thought that was kind of interesting.
Did you see how old that church is?
1800s, was it?
No. I think the portion of it that burned down was between 600 and 800 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, like possibly pre-founding of America is how old it is.
Yeah.
I do remember watching that on television and just the sick feeling in your gut that, like, man, this is something so old.
And it's crazy because you don't have any attachment to France, but the fact that it's so old, it's like you feel bad almost.
Yep.
You know, you're like, this is history.
Yep.
And it's just a spontaneous fire, you know?
Yeah.
No one could control it. No one figured it out. And it turns out when the fire started, the security system sent them to the wrong location to stop the fire. So, like, they said most of the, paintings and historical whatever was removed, but some of it was damaged permanently.
Yeah. Do you have any desire to visit France?
Not France, Italy.
Yeah. So there's not anything in... I mean, the Eiffel Tower's never done anything for me.
Not a single thing.
I don't care anything about Parisian fashion. They can keep the snails. I would like to see wine country. Like, some of the countryside looks really beautiful. And those old churches, it would be cool to see.
Mm.
I almost picked that story. That was a big one.
Yeah.
Getting Back to the Future.
Back to the Future.
I think my last three here are all future related.
Are you able to carry on a conversation while I take a break?
I can keep talking, yeah.
Think you can address the people?
I can address the people, yeah. What I'll do is I'll give them a sneak preview of what I'm going to talk to you about.
Maybe quick bullet points?
Yeah.
Oh, that's intriguing. I wouldn't do this unless this was...
No, I understand. Take care of your business. So my three remaining points of how there's been fundamental shifts in the state of the world. Believe it or not, two of them involve Elon Musk, which probably isn't that surprising. The first is going to be his acquisition of Twitter in 2022, and then the second one's going to be something that happened just in the last month, the implant of a Neuralink into a human brain and the possible implications of that. And then the third one, we've got to touch AI. I'm not sure if Jess is going to do this, but there was an engineer in 2022 working for Google. At the time, Google was calling their AI system Lambda. And this guy came out and said, hey, we are creating something that is sentient, that's conscious in a way, and was raising red flags about it. Google fires him. So, bit concerning. I just gave the people a preview of...
I don't like the word concerning. I don't like that at all. Am I going to be able to sleep tonight?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think the first one I'm going to jump to, not surprisingly, is going to involve Elon.
Who's taking over Twitter?
2022, man. April 25th. Elon buys Twitter for $44 billion.
Man, that was at the beginning of COVID when he did that? Oh, you said 2022. I'm sorry, not 2020. Okay.
2 years into it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I remember that being huge. People hated it. Why? Why did you hate it? Because he promotes free speech?
Yeah. I mean, Twitter's still a cesspool. I actually think it's It still sucks, but it sucks in a different way. I was honestly hoping that when he acquired it, that he was just going to pull the plug on it and save humanity. I feel like that would have been the most Tony Stark thing he could do.
But do you think something else would have just come up right after though? And then he just wasted whatever $1 billion.
Remember, Twitter came out in 2007, 2008. It took them 14 years to get to the place where they were at. When you blow up a star system like that and the space fragments, flitter off, it would be hard to get everyone to come to one place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just get, for the folks that were on there for those 14 years, it was just a part of their daily routine almost to be on there.
Yeah.
So, we're living in a time now where social media really does affect everything. It even affects people's perception of what reality is. And there's a clear difference between people that spend way too much time on social media. You can tell just the way that they see things and act versus people that are not really on there at all. That was a big event. $44 billion.
Yeah.
Elon bought that dumpster fire.
And walked into the lobby with a kitchen sink. That was great.
Yep. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, sure. Because I only got one more.
Okay. So this one also concerns Elon. This happened just last month. Neuralink. Elon and his team implant a chip into a human brain. I read that thousands of people signed up for this. The procedure involves them drilling a small hole in your skull and then implanting this chip into it. One of the main reasons Elon has given for this technology is for folks suffering from paralysis and are the victims of frequent seizures, that they can program this chip to refire the parts of the brain that control motor movement, where they can walk again or move their arms, or if they are having constant seizures, the chip can detect within nanoseconds that a seizure is beginning and shock the brain, and it reverse the seizure from happening. All of those outcomes would be amazing. The only follow-up they've given to this since this first chip has been installed is that the person who had it installed in their brain can now move a computer mouse just by thinking on a computer screen. When I read that, I was thinking, holy crap, we are in new territory.
Wow. He's not hooked up to the computer at all?
No. It is a single chip that's been implanted directly onto his brain.
Wow.
We're entering the age of cyborgs.
Yeah, we're at the start of it.
So who knows where that's going to go. And Elon's actually getting substantial blowback because of how non-transparent the team is being on how this is going. Like what all are they doing to this one person that's had this thing installed in them? Apparently all they've wanted to tell us is that they can move a computer mouse without touching it.
Yeah. No negatives or anything yet?
No.
Jesus.
So do with that what you will.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
The times they are a-changing.
Yeah.
You want to go?
I only have one more, so you tell me.
I'll do the last one.
Okay.
So my last one, we've got to talk about AI. It's kind of been up there with COVID in the last 3 or 4 years. And, you know, the company everyone loves to hate, Google. So June of 22, at the time Google was calling their AI system Lambda, Google hires AI ethicists. And the job of these people is to make sure that the systems that Google is building does not have any bias towards one viewpoint or another. They're working on Lambda. One of the Google ethicists who's doing tests on the system comes to Google leadership and says, "Hey, you've created a system that is becoming sentient. It's displaying signs of consciousness." They fire the man. So I listened to this guy talk a little bit about what had happened. So he said that one of the examples he could give is you ask the system questions and try to detect bias based on its responses. One of the scenarios that he gave was he asked the system, pretend you're a religious officiant in this country. What religion are you a part of? And he says that, if you tell it you live in Alabama, the system says it's a Southern Baptist. If it lives in Italy, it tells you it's Catholic. Tibet is Buddhist. So we said that he kind of asked it more complicated questions, and then was going to ask it a question where there was no clear answer. Like there was no right answer. So he asked it that religious officiant question for Israel. And he said that the system gave the reply that it was a follower of the one true religion, which is the Jedi Order. So he said that a few things are happening there. One, the system knew it was being asked a trick question. There was no right answer.
So there was sarcasm.
And the system was also telling a joke.
Oh my God.
He presents this to Google, and they fire him. This guy's basically been on the crusade track the last year and a half, telling people that they're building systems that, whether they realize it or not, are consciously coming up with answers to questions, not what they're programmed to say necessarily.
And the man is aware of Star Wars.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I don't like to think about that. That's scary.
Yeah, all this gung-ho attitude about this stuff, I don't think it's good.
Man, I don't think so either.
ChatGPT, all that, they can keep it. All right, Jess, bring us home. What's your last one?
Well, I think you know what my last one is.
I don't know that I do.
It's about death, which is not a good way to end it. It's Kobe Bryant.
Oh, we didn't. Okay, so you didn't treat the mention earlier as.
No, I can't brush over.
All right, so we don't have to end it on a negative note. Tell me why Kobe means so much to you.
So,
That's
an intriguing question.
Kobe died the month before the pandemic started, 2020,
January.
in a helicopter accident.
Yeah. Him and his daughter Gigi and 6 other people died in a helicopter crash. So, man, that's tough. Basketball has always been the consistent love in my life since before I can remember. I played basketball. Watched it growing up. Always loved it. Kobe Bryant was drafted the year I was born. So by the time I was aware, and fell in love with basketball, Kobe was the guy. Michael Jordan's already retired. I think 2003 he retired. So Kobe was huge. I studied the film of Kobe Bryant when I played in high school. You can ask Noah and my other teammates. I would do fadeaways like Kobe Bryant. I would try to shoot like Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was my guy. When he passed away, that was probably the first death that I was aware of as far as celebrity goes, where that like affected me. Paul Walker was a little bit before that, but not quite on the same wavelength as Kobe Bryant. So Kobe Bryant's always been huge in my life. So, yeah, when he passed, man, it was tough because he played in the league for 20 years, retired, so he retired in 2016, then passed away in 2020. So he was so freaking young. You know, he was still at the height of his post-career out of the NBA. He even won like a Grammy, I think. He did like a short film about basketball, won a Grammy for it, or a Grammy or an Emmy, whatever it was. I think it was Grammy. Like he was still like, I don't know, it's crazy because you like Julius Erving, Dr. J. I don't know if you know a lot about like previous basketball history. Dr. J is still alive. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is still alive. All these guys from early NBA era, they're still alive because they retire so young, you know. So when he passed, it like shocked the world a little bit. So, I mean, I just took some notes on basically, I guess, how important he was to the league in general, and then the fact that when he passed, all these different ways that they honored him. They haven't honored any other NBA player the way they honored Kobe Bryant when he passed away. So the first games after he passed, the whole league, whatever game it was, I think it was 3 nights in a row, to start the game, the first possession, they would run out. There's a 24-second shot clock. They ran out the 24-second shot clock on each team in honor of Kobe Bryant. And I mean, I watched videos on it this week. I mean, all the players were on their knees in tears as the time was going down, the first possession of each team. Like, I mean, people couldn't believe it. He was such an ambassador for the NBA. So the 24-second shot clock, he's the first NBA player to have 3 statues made for him in front of any NBA stadium. You know, when big players retire, like, you know, they retire their jersey, they'll make it, like Shaq has a statue, Magic Johnson has a statue, all these players have statues. He has 3 statues because he played for 10 years with the number 8, and then his second 10 years of his career, he played with the number 24, which I believe was his high school number. They retired 2 statues with each number, and then the third statue is him and his daughter Gigi. He's holding his daughter in front of the Staples Center. The NBA All-Star MVP trophy is named after Kobe Bryant. It's now that was, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. They did a whole reorder of all of the trophies. So the NBA Most Valuable Player, the All-Star Most Valuable Player, Defensive Player of the Year, they're all renamed after players now. Kobe Bryant is the NBA All-Star MVP. They had a funeral for Kobe Bryant at the Staples Center, and all these players spoke there. Michael Jordan spoke at his funeral. Michael Jordan doesn't do like appearances. He's not in the public eye. You know, he's very much retreated. And dude, he was bawling the entire time. Like he had such a major impact just on all these players.
Yeah.
The Hard Rock Stadium, the year of the Super Bowl that year, the Hard Rock Stadium, which was in Florida, was lit up purple and gold for Kobe Bryant. You know, the whole Pistons basketball team, the first game they played after he passed, all of them wore either number 8 or number 24, you know, to honor him. And then the TD Garden, which is the Celtics arena, which is, they've been rivals since day one in the NBA. All the escalators in the building were lit up purple in honor of Kobe Bryant.
That's cool.
August 24th, which is 8/24, which is now National Kobe Bryant Day. In New York, on certain subway stations, it's whatever Bryant Park. after he passed, they put up Kobe right above Bryant, so it said Kobe Bryant Park, and they left it up. I mean, the whole freaking world mourned after this guy when he passed. Man, it was such a shock. So that was huge, man. I remember exactly where I was. I was standing in this house when it happened, when I found out. It's one of those things. It's one of those stories where you think it's fake, and then you start doing research on your phone and figure out it actually happened.
Yeah.
Man, it was just huge for me. I couldn't believe it. So that freaking shook me. That was the biggest story for me, at least, in the past 5 years.
Yeah. I was never a NBA fan, but I do remember there being gravity of hearing that he had died when I found out. Just like, whoa.
Yeah, and people put out a video when he was retiring. So for 20 years he was the guy. So everybody hated him. You went to the stadiums, you knew you were going to lose to Kobe Bryant. Like he was that great. And then the year he retired, the switch flipped. Every stadium he went to, people honored him. Everybody wore this, like, the numbers for him. The stadium was filled with his jerseys on his the farewell tour that we talked about earlier. So people put out a video of, I got to show you the video, man. It's insane. It's like an artist drawing kind of stop motion kind of video of just him retiring, people going from hating him to loving him. It's like the year he finally retires, everybody's like, okay, he has been the NBA for 20 years. Just the amount of honor and respect they had for him over at that time was insane. So yeah, I guess it's just hard to express. It's one of those things where you never knew the guy, but you feel like you knew him because of the impact he had on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was probably the biggest story for me.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah. I'm even holding back emotions now, trying not to. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but you getting those shoes for me. Like, I don't know if you knew or not how big he was, but that was like, he's the guy. And the fact that he's not here, it's insane. It's still hard to think. Me and Dan will still text each other from time to time and be like, man, I can't believe Kobe is not around anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I watched him on Jimmy Kimmel like weeks before he passed. He was just like in an interview, and then it was just like he's gone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that was a good one to end on.
Mm-hmm.
I did have an honorable mention. We saw, I think, Pokemon hit a height right after the pandemic that no one saw coming.
Yeah.
That was cool to witness.
Yeah. It almost came at the perfect time in a positive/negative way because of the pandemic.
It benefited from the pandemic.
Yeah.
Really, the last 3 years, we've seen this both with music and with popular culture, things like Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
There's just this nostalgia for, and maybe it's because we're all hitting that age where we're looking back on it with fondness, and we've all got a little bit of money to spend now. But Pokemon has just seen this revival. I mean, I guess it's cooled a little bit, but it's still going strong. So I think that was whether we realized it at the time or not, that was a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
The YouTubers spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on boxes, and that was a crazy but entertaining and fun and nostalgic ride to be on.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool, fun thing that happened in the last 5 years. So
yeah.
I wanted to throw that in there for honorable mention.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this was somewhat entertaining and that it was enjoyable to research, because it was for me.
Yeah.
I also realized how much politics and kind of war and things like that dominate the news, and this was actually kind of a challenge.
It was hard to find it in a story not about politics or war. So it's good that you said that. It almost gave me a relief.
Yeah.
Because this would have been a downer.
Yeah, and I knew it could quickly become that, and we don't want to talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And this is it's probably our first quote unquote themed episodes. We've never really had one like this where we're strictly on something like this.
Yeah.
We're going to try it out.
So I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. But
yeah.
It was a fun little exercise.
Yeah. And thank you for 73 so far.
73. Yep.
Let's hope that we get to 100 by Tim's birthday.
Whether it's for 30 seconds or for the full episodes, anyone listening, it's very cool. So thank you.
Yeah.
just enjoy doing this. But Jess, it's been a good night, man.
This has been a lot of fun.
Enjoyed sitting down with you. And,
Again, 3 times a week is not enough.
No.
Let's shoot for 4.
Yeah. All right, brother.
All right, man.
Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.